Mario and the Canes are bringing in plenty of good players, plenty of good coaches, but they lost a really good one, and we will address right here at Hurricanes Live at the Voice of College Football, so please lock it in for the next hour. We got the Wholesome One, of course, on the line. Check out his YouTube channel, Wholesome One Holloway. There's the man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. There's a lot to address, and real specifically, we're about to speak on something. But besides that, man, it's I'm doing well personally.
Good, good, good. Well, it was just about this point last night, about 24 hours ago to the minute, that we found out that Tavares Robinson had moved on to Alabama to be secondary coach there. So now Mario's got to replace him, and that's not going to be an easy one to replace.
Um, like I said, I've had some time to think about it, and the more you think about it, the more you understand that these things happen. You need to prepare for it. And sometimes it's not just about money. It could be location. It could be championship pedigree. It could be the opportunity to coach players that you really want to coach. There's just so much that goes into it. But Mark, when you look at the list as to why you would do something like this, let's start off with first. You're from Miami, Florida. This was thought of as your dream job, and you've spoken about it to be such. Number two, you went to Auburn and thought of as one of the best defensive backs to come through Auburn. Third, you don't need to add to your resume. You're already thought of as one of the best, if not the best, defensive backs coaches in the country. So going to Alabama does what for you exactly? And four, you had a lateral move. You went from Miami's defensive backs coach to Alabama's defensive backs coach. It's not like you got co-defensive coordinator. It's not like you left to go to Auburn to be the defensive coordinator. It's the same position. And even more crazy to think about is this, Mark. Nick Saban is the one who coaches the DBs directly, more specifically the corners. So you're going there to be Alabama's safeties coach. Now, some people could call me sad, deranged Miami Hurricanes fan. That's okay. I don't mind that because you're right. I am upset about this. This is a gut shot for no reason. I mean, you're sitting there with the sleepy eyes thrown up to you, taking a picture. And what does Coach Cristobal do to show his respect and love for you? He comes back to that same recruit the next day after everyone was clowning you on Twitter the night before for being sleepy because you went to a midnight, um, official visit. And the whole staff does the close eye, sleepy you up because they didn't want you to feel ostracized by yourself and attacked. You've been out recruiting for us for the last 2 weeks when all these rumors were going on. Didn't address any of them. And you left to Alabama. Now, again, like I said, is that championship pedigree? Is that the best, if not the second best program? Arguably, probably the best one in school history or in history. 15 years of this greatness we're watching right now. Sure, but you're just going to be a cog in that machine. What about coming here and building the great program that you spoke about in your intro press conference to be at Miami? I've been all over the country. I've been in the SEC. I've done it. I've seen it all. I beat it all. I want to come here to Miami to do the same thing. Okay, cool. Hey, we'll take you at face value. And you up and leave us at the first chance you got. You signed to coach under Manny Diaz. We have a whole bunch of investment into what we got right now and where we're going right now and the way we want to move right now. We go get a big time coach. You get a pay grade. We up your pay. And you up and leave. So, hey, it happens. Things happen. We move on. There's plenty of other defensive backs coaches in the country who do very well at their job. And hopefully Miami gets an opportunity. Now it's kind of late in the game. Corey Raymond's at LSU, at Florida. Um, you know, my old head coach, Corey Bell, is in conversation for the same position here at Miami. Um, Rod Chance was supposed to stay at Oregon. There might be a chance that now Coach Cristobal goes back and dips into the Oregon well again to go grab a young up and coming defensive backs coach and recruiter and Rob Chance, who was the GA under Will Muschamp and T-Rob before he left there to go take the official position over at Oregon as a positions coach. So, hey, man, I just had to let that out. I don't want the rest of the show to be dark and gloomy and negative and down, but that had to be spoken about in the way that it had to be spoken about. And I no longer want to talk about T-Rob because what he did was just it made little to no sense. I mean, Mark, if you're already one of the best talk show, you have your own show. There's thousands, millions of people who have watched your shows. Would you just up and go take the same, do the Mark Rogers TV for Fox now? You have your own. There's no need. You left ESPN to be able to do your own thing, and it's worked out. It just, but hey, like I said, again, I'm going to let it go. It's behind me now. There's a chance for us to go and grab other coaches, whether it be from the high school level in the local Miami-Dade, Broward County area, who have been putting out some pretty good defensive backs, or we go out there and grab another coach and bring them down. Either way, no one is bigger than the you. No one's bigger than the logo. And the more that you preach that, you gotta lean into that. You have to know that that is the truth. Okay, you gotta know that.
Here are a few things that come to mind for me, and a few of these things are going to be in line with what you just stated, and a few are from a bit of a different perspective, either in not knowing or in just having a different perspective. So number one would be, what's the pay difference? That's the first thing that comes to mind, because it is a job and you get paid for a job. And the reason we all work is to get a paycheck. So do we know what that pay difference is? Or if there is a pay difference?
None of that's been announced yet.
So that's number one. My first thought that I'm just working with just generic figures. But if you make $800,000 a year and you get a raise to $1.1 million a year, that's significant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's my first thought, which we don't know. My second one is, if I'm as good at my job as T-Rob is, to your point, I would be very cognizant of who the head coach is in terms of what his area of expertise is. And as you just pointed out, Nick Saban's area of expertise is the secondary, and more specifically, corners. I would rather go be somewhere where I wouldn't have the head coach kind of like already have his like really strong thoughts about that position, his strong ways about that position. I'd want to go work for like an offensive dude who's just like, man, we know you're one of the best. We're cutting you loose. You go to it, and you make that secondary what it's supposed to be. And I trust you, and this is why you're here. I would be a little uneasy about having a head coach who specializes in my area if I'm as good as T-Rob. If I'm just starting, then that's different. I'd actually probably like to have a head coach who specializes in my area so he can mentor me. But this is different.
Yep.
I think in terms of it being a lateral move, that all depends on how you view. So in terms of the position, there's no question it's a lateral move.
Mm-hmm.
But would you consider a move from, okay, Alabama's the best program in the country. Miami's in the top, depending on how
35,
you look at it. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say 25 to 30. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
If he was at Duke and he was moving to Miami, would you consider that a lateral move?
No.
Okay. I understand the argument that it is a lateral move,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that I don't agree with that. I'm just bringing a different perspective that if you consider the level of program, then maybe it's not a lateral move.
And I get that, but like I said, the deeper you look at it, it could be it's a lateral move with a curve. You're going on a higher program, right? But like we just illustrated, it would be different if he was young up and coming. He's already known as the best or one of the best. So I mean, you're not really new. And here's another thing, Mark. I'll hammer it home again, even though I really want to let this go, but I'll keep going. You were raised in this coaching thing by whom? Who was Tavares Robinson raised in coaching by? Just by coaching wise. Do you know?
I don't.
Will Muschamp. He was a grad assistant under Will
Okay.
Muschamp at
Yeah,
Auburn.
it's not good.
A couple years after playing and then going into the NFL.
Okay.
Guess what Will Muschamp is? Georgia.
He's at Georgia. Yeah.
And thought of to be getting the promotion to defensive coordinator or co-defensive coordinator at Georgia.
Yep.
I wouldn't trip if that was the move because I understand the person that gave you your chance, the person that helped you and molded you to become who you are is calling you again and saying, hey, I need you again. We just won a championship. Come do it right here. That's fine. The New England Patriots, the Oakland Raiders, somebody calls to the NFL calls, want you to be their defensive backs coach. No problem. I'm not going to trip on you about that. I get it. Now, someone in here made a great point, about we don't know the reasons why. Well, the reason that would go against all of what I said, I don't really know. And like I said, call me deranged, angry Miami Hurricanes fan. I get that because I am. This one didn't make any sense. Yes, it's Alabama. That part I understand. But that's the only reason why it makes any sense. Because it's Alabama. And you can go out and do it. He's already known as one of the best recruiters. So you're not going to get a ring on your cap for being an elite recruiter because you've beaten Alabama head to head. 4 recruits to commit to Miami. Like Traquan Fakins is right there in Alabama. Alabama told him, hold on, wait. Miami came and got him. Now, of course, Miami didn't finish because our season was bad. But as far as what T-Rob was doing, it is what it is, man. It's behind us now. We got to move forward, and Miami will move forward. It is what it is, man. Everybody keeps talking about money. Yeah, you're right. But I believe, and this is from me knowing that it is public, that the University of Miami is willing to put in millions to build the staff. Okay. Well, if it's about money, why not give Miami the opportunity to match? And we'll never know. We will never know. We will never know if they gave him a chance to match it and if Miami did or didn't and just let him go. And no way. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. So we appreciate everybody waiting. We were a little bit late. So understand the wholesome ones flying around, trying to get things done and trying to get in from a long work day. So, so we appreciate everybody hanging on and being patient. So thank you so much for that. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of people get impatient and don't know where we are and that sort of thing. Just keep in mind that we have schedules and there's a lot of hustle that has to take place to get here close to on time. All right. Let's see. I don't see anything necessarily in the chat. Anything? What else do we have going on?
Coach Aaron Feld. Yesterday was the
Yes.
very first day of winter strength and conditioning program for the Miami Hurricanes and a couple programs across college football. So yesterday you had a lot of reports that were just amazed as to where we've come, how hard it was on the players and how rough it was. And today was day number 2, and people were like, I don't know if I keep doing this. I don't know if I keep showing up. It was that rough for him. In joking fashion, obviously they'll keep showing up, but that's where they a lot of the players like, man, this is rough. This is hard. And I tell you what, Mark, one of the other things about that makes me happy is two things can be true. Okay. Miami has been said for years when we're not strength conditioning the programs is that, they've said that every year we've gotten a new one. We went from Gus Felder in 2016 in his departure. He was there 16, 17, and 18, and he departed. And then Dave Feely came in 2019, and the players talked about how hard it was under him. And then now here in 2022, you have Aaron Feld, who steps in after Dave Feely, who had his 3 seasons here at the University of Miami. Two things can be true. It can be the hardest thing they've had in a different level, and they had to step it up. And it could also be that every time we get a new coach, we hear the same thing, and that means that these players are gradually getting more coaching, getting better coaching, and maybe we've made an upgrade. In my opinion, Felder could be maybe a C plus, B minus kind of guy. Coach Coach David Feely was probably one of those B plus, A minus guys. And now you look at Aaron Feld, who started off to be the best, especially now that Coach Scott Cochran has moved on from strength and conditioning, and he moved to wanting to be an on the field coach, and was special teams until he had to step away from personal reasons from the University of Georgia. And he was thought of as the best for well over a decade with the bodies that he built at Bama, and then he went over and did the same thing at Georgia. Well, the early on in that time, Aaron Feld was at Bama as a strength and conditioning graduate assistant under Scott Cochran, and from 2012 through 2015. So this is someone who was raised in that nature. And then once Kirby Smart moved to Georgia, the young grad assistant that he brought with him to start the program at UGA was who? Aaron Feld. And Aaron Feld moved over there. So that's where Coach Cristobal knows him from, as being one of the young grad assistants who were, young, energetic, and stood out. And then after a couple of years there in Georgia, Coach Cristobal gave him a call in 2019 to move over there to Oregon. And he's been at Oregon the last couple of years. So that's one thing about this coaching fraternity, whether it be strength conditioning, whether it be nutrition, whether it be on-field coaches, things like recruiting departments, film departments, it's all in who you know. And when you keep a good name and you keep a clean nose, you stay out of any trouble, and you're a hard worker, people will recommend you, and you'll be all over the country and doing your thing. That's where Coach Aaron Feld has come from. So he's done his time in the Pac-12. He's done his time in the SEC, grew up in the SEC from the South. They're playing some of the best ball in college football, been dominating the sport for about 10 to 15, almost 20 years. So we want a little bit of that. We want a little bit of that here at Miami. Now, we are ways away from building these well-oiled machines like UGA. We're kind of more of like a Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Kentucky kind of area. Even Kentucky's a little further than we are. And that's okay. We're just not there yet. Now, the blessing that we are in is we're in the ACC, in the ACC Coastal. So it might be a little easier for us to be able to climb. We don't have to really go through too many juggernauts to get back in the conversation, but you have to build it. And it doesn't just have to come from a guy like me. It has to be done on that football field, it has to be done in those classrooms, has to be done in the weight room. Most importantly, has to be done with the psychological change of our players. They have to understand that we are a different program. And when you look at that, you don't look at it as a logo that's been in the ACC for 20 years and never won it. You want to have a look of a championship logo. You want to have a physique of a championship program. You want to be able to articulate yourself in front of a camera like a championship program. You want to carry yourself and play on that football field like a championship program. And like I said, Mark, we are still maybe half a decade away from having a program that just rolls. They just line up, they do what they're supposed to do. We've recruited very well, and we run like machines. Maybe we're far away from that, but I'm happy to see the foundation of it being laid at a high level.
We've got the wholesome one here. And when we get done here, head on over to his channel, see what he's got available on Miami Football Talk. And if you've not subscribed, come on. Head on over to the Wholesome One's channel, subscribe to his channel, and you'll get lost. You'll get lost in a good way. You'll get lost. You'll dig into the videos, get the analysis, get the breakdowns on film of players, personnel. It's great stuff. And,
highlight tapes. They've been dropping for the longest. Last couple of days. I've also been intertwining it with Twitter. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me on Twitter. It's Holloway, HOLLOWAY_52. I make sure I tweet those things out and get it out there. Some of the freshmen, Mark, that you just went, I wonder what happened to 5-star James Williams. Come on over to the H1H channel and you could see how did the 5-star 6'5", 235-pound safety play this season. Well, he did damn well. How did top 5 player in the country, number 2 defensive tackle in the country, Leonard Taylor, play this past season? Step on over to the channel. You can see what he did for 2021, 2022 with highlights from yours truly. So we don't just critique on over there. And I'm just not one of those people. This is one of my favorite parts of the season because I get to watch the season and look for the good. I get a chance to sit and watch what the guys do, what plays did they make, and give them an opportunity to showcase what they have done well. Not just over critique them when it comes to the film breakdowns, which I tend to do, but you just get an opportunity to be able to show them some love. And I send it to the players, man, and to hear them and be able to talk to them on the phone or have them message me, and it's just like, thank you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. And thank you for the tough love. That means a lot to me because I'm not going to just beat you down just to beat you down for any reason. I want you to get better because we want to see these young men do better. All of them won't play in the NFL, and I understand that. But you got to give people their roses, Mark. Got to give them their roses while they're here. Show them that love and appreciation.
And there you see the Twitter handle right there on the banner.
Thank you.
All right. Tyson is asking Wholesome One chances on Harold Perkins. And if we miss, do you think we shoot for the Michigan State linebacker? I'm going to take a shot at this. I believe it's Ma'a Neoteote.
I haven't heard any traction about Ma'a. I have heard a lot of traction about Harold Perkins. And my question is, when we're bringing in these guys, right, especially transfer portal guys, mixing into this program, everyone is going to have a facelift, Mark. Everyone's free. Everyone doesn't have the history. We want to be able to give them an opportunity to prove who they are. Now, that comes both ways. With these transfer guys, are we allowing them to just come in and just take over, and run our program? Or are we going to allow them to come in and mesh perfectly with this program in a united front? Now, Perkins is a recruit, one of the best linebackers in the country. 6'1" player, accelerates, man. Accelerates to the ball carrier and accelerates through the ball carrier. One of the big problems we've watched on this program for the last couple of years has been cornerback and linebacker, and up until recently, quarterback play. But offensive line, yeah, you can argue offensive line's been a problem too. But glaring problems of us not being able to get to the quarterback fast enough, and they could just pick us apart because either lack of communication or lack of athleticism or whatever in the secondary. So I really want us to get a facelift at linebacker. Mark, we missed on a big swing back in the day with Justin Flo. We finished a close second to Oregon, but he stayed there. Okay, I've also spoken about one of the best ways to help us would be moving James Williams down to linebacker. But for the foreseeable future, he's a defensive back. Cool. Now we saw a little spurt of a Chase Smith, freshman linebacker, number 41, 6'3", 228 pounds right now. Showed some flashes. Wayman Steed showed a little bit of flash, but coming off of 2 ACL injuries, a little hurt. So we don't know about him being able to finish through. All right. And third, you had a guy like Corey Flagg, who's more of a program guy. And you have those guys. It happens. We got to make a step here, Mark. We got to make a step here. We really do. And I would love to be able to go get a Harold Perkins, but he's already made a hard commit to Texas A&M. And I don't, with how much money they're dropping on people, I don't know. I think the only one we'll land in the battle one-to-one is Shamar, and it's because of the love we have and the communication and the relationship we have with him, because they are buy, sell, buy right now. It's kind of scary what they're doing, man. But hey, it's the world of college football right now. You got to get with it or get left behind.
Yep. Corey Bell is currently the assistant coach / defensive backs coach at the University of Florida. Is there any particular reason I keep seeing his name pop up that he would be connected to the job? Because Florida's not been very good in the secondary in the last few years. They're usually great in the secondary, but the last few years, not great.
He's connected to me. And people
Really?
know that. He was my high school
that.
head football coach at American High. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So his
that.
name keeps popping up because people know that I'm here. And he was my head coach at American High 2000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2012, season 12 and 13. I graduated 2014 in May, like that spring. So he left to go be the FAU defensive backs coach in spring of 14, right before I got. So it's like, it's crazy. I said that story years ago, and now his name is being popped up with Miami. And he also has had a connection to the University of Miami. He used to be our head of player personnel or director of player personnel under Onion. Onion is Randy Shannon. This is the name we call Randy Shannon. Him and Randy Shannon are very, very close friends. So it's in a couple of the places where Randy Shannon, Coach Shannon has been, he has brought Coach Bell with him. But yeah, Coach Bell was my, that's crazy. On my channel, I get a lot of flack for it. I didn't think it was going to follow me over here to MarkRogersTV. But yeah, man. He's an aggressive coach, man. That I can tell you. He will accept nothing but your absolute most. And like I said, he's head coach. He also was the head coach for Miami Edison, which is a smaller inner city school in the late 90s, early 2000s. Also played his ball at South Carolina, was a safety at South Carolina in the SEC. Was one of those guys who kind of was playing down here in South Florida. Miami, missed him, so he ended up going somewhere else, playing ball in the SEC in South Carolina. Then he started to be the defensive backs coach over at Florida under, was McElwain after Muschamp?
Yes.
Yes, he was McElwain's defensive backs coach. So he's grew up a Gators fan, always wanted to be a Florida Gator. So he's living his life right now being a part of the Florida Gator football program. And yeah, Coach Bell.
So if I see this correctly, his first year at Florida was 2017. So that would have been McElwain's last year. And then he was there under Mullen. Dan Mullen kept him.
Right. Oh, okay.
There.
And then he got a demotion down to player personnel, right? Because that's what he's doing. Yeah, he's
interesting. All right.
He's a leader of men. I tell you that much, Mark. He was tough on us, dog. He was tough. He wasn't one of those coaches that's like laughy, jokey with you. I think I've seen him smile twice. Serious, disciplinarian. If he saw me now, he'd be very disappointed in how I've let myself go physically. But he'll be proud of my achievements mentally.
There you
So
go.
and
Focus
what
on
I've
that.
done. Yeah, exactly.
Tim, we appreciate you going on over as a USC fan to the Wholesome Ones channel and subscribing there. Thank you so much for that. And Tim, I believe you gave the final super chat on the call-in show just a few minutes ago, so I appreciate your contributions. And we've got Falconer X with the super sticker. And Falconer X just got here and he's asking what he missed. Well, video posts, go back, check it out. A lot of talk
What's it
about
called, Mark? The
T-Rob
hashtag what?
out of the gate. What's that?
What's it called? Hashtag
Rewatch Squad.
Yes,
That's it.
sir. That's it. Hashtag Rewatch Squad. Those of you who are here are the hashtag Live Squad right now, and you got to be the hashtag Rewatch Squad. God, you know, you make something up, and you never think that it'll like blossom, but it's super cool to see it used all over the place, man. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, see, I'm not that clever or that smart or creative to come up with anything like that. So
It's all good. You got the voice
okay.
of college football.
We did come up with that. Well, I didn't even necessarily come up with that. Just had so many people making that comment to me that I thought all of a sudden it finally triggered, and I thought I got to run with that. Yeah, somebody was on here the other night and they were talking about I think it was maybe I forget what show, and talking about their various podcasts, and they all had clever names. And I said, yeah, I just went Miami Hurricanes live, Ohio State Buckeyes live, Michigan Wolverines live.
Hey man, keeping it simple is also thought of as beautiful. I mean, hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I tell you what, the quality that you give off, that's all that matters, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So we're in an interesting spot here. So it's January 19th, 20th, January 20th. National Signing Day is the first Wednesday. So we're looking at 12
a week and a half
days,
now?
somewhere in that range, 13 days,
Yeah.
a little less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks from yesterday. And then
Okay,
you're
2
right.
weeks
You're right.
from
It was
yesterday.
Thursday.
So a lot has to get done. It's going to be interesting to see which of those leans fall Miami's way to really make this a much better class, or how that goes. Based on what
I believe
Mario's done here the last month, got to be optimistic about who else he could bring in.
It's only 3 prospects. And if things do change, because things change a lot, we meet once a week here. So, it's an everlasting change here. And you never know until they put pen to paper. And in the world of college football right now, they could play for your team for 3 years and still leave you. So you never know. There's about 3 recruiting announcements we should keep an eye out on. All right. One of them, Shamar Stewart. That's obvious. Okay. Big defensive end. I thought he was 6'3". Mark, he's a lot closer to about 6'6", 270. Okay, he is all of what we need as a strong side 4-eye technique. In this 3-4, we're probably going to run moving forward here. He's all we need, all you want. All right, he's our second chance at a 6'6", ready-made strong side defensive end. The first was my recruiting class out of Miami, Booker T. Washington, the 6'6", 5-star defensive end, Chad Thomas. Now, he unfortunately was a part of a 3-4 that wasn't attack. It was a one gap, two gap system where you hold the guard, he got to look inside, and then when the player commits, then you flip outside. So his first 2 seasons was not very productive due to the system he was playing in. His last 2 seasons were very productive, and he started to show flashes. To the tone of making the East-West Shrine Game, he did so well in the East-West Shrine Game that the Reese's Senior Bowl, the big bowl over in Mobile, Alabama, that Nick Saban's at, and everybody is over there, and NFL Network sponsors. They're about a week apart. After that game, they sent him to the Reese Senior Bowl because he dominated the East-West Shrine game so much. And he had an opportunity to hop in and get in those one-on-one reps and battle some of those big guys. And the one-on-one O-line, D-line, which is the only reason why you watch the Reese Senior Bowl, is because they put a camera right there next to the offensive lineman. They put a mic right there, and you get to see these big dogs go at it. And I love it. It's one of my favorite times of the year in the off season is to watch O-line, D-line one-on-ones with helmets that some you recognize, some you don't. Guys from Michigan State, guys from NC State, guys from Arkansas Pine Bluff, guys from North Dakota State, guys from all over the country get a chance to go at it. And you want to see your logo and you want to see how your big hog mollies line up against the other big hog mollies all over the country. I went on a rant there because I really love talking about O-line. But Shamar Stewart, this is a recruitment mark that we need to win. It is a must win. Now, there's a lot of talks of Texas A&M, a lot of talks of Texas A&M, and there's talks that we may not be able to get them. Guess what? We can't think like that, Miami fans. We can't think like that. He's a hometown young man. He's one of the best defensive linemen to come out of South Florida in recent memory. We got to believe that we're going to get him. We got to believe that we're going to handle business. And Coach Cristobal was brought here to keep some of the best talent home. He might lose, but I believe that this is one he went all in, Mark, to the point where he brought all the staff, because it's not a full staff, to Shamar Stewart's home at 12:01 because the dead period was over. And it was technically the next day. And they're all outside taking pictures, sitting with his family, speaking with his mother and father, speaking with his position coach, and trying to make sure that we are the pick. And if we are not the pick, let's sell you on what we're going to be. Now you have a defensive line coach. For the last couple of months, or last couple of weeks, we didn't have one. Now we've had one for about a week and a half now, and Joe Salavea. He's here. Now he can speak to you and let you know what we would like to do with you and how we would like to place you and the things we would do for you. Okay, that's where we are with that. One of the other ones that we got to watch out for is David Ayuli, I believe is the pronunciation. He is a high 4-star, borderline 5-star, top 5 guard in the country out of the state of Washington. Now, he was originally committed to Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal up at Oregon because of the Polynesian connection, because of the way that they have been treating a lot of those players. They wanted to hang out on the West Coast and be recruited to stay there. And Miami was doing a very, very, very good. No, Miami. Oregon was doing a very good job there. Now, Miami has had to do something and convince this young man to come here. Okay, he's what we need, Mark. 6'6", 320 pounds. Oh, goodness. Very aggressive film. Yes, he is the biggest guy on this film, so you expect him to dominate, but he does that. He dominates. He plays with that tenacious aggression that you want on offensive line. He's not a hothead. He's a very humble, quiet guy off the football field. On the football field, he's what you need. He's the guard that you want to come in and run 24 dive behind, 22 dive behind. He's a plug and play, ready-made right guard for you after losing a guy like Navon Donaldson, who we failed as a program. Now we can get the next young man and make sure he doesn't fall into the same situation. So those are really the two. The other ones to me are a little bit swings. You have the defensive lineman who we were going after. What's this young man's name? Last name Pyburn. I can't think of his first name.
From Jacksonville.
Yeah, he take a swing on him. Take a swing on him. See what happens. Christian Miller, defensive tackle, big conversation. Nose guard kind of defensive tackle. Big conversation between us and Georgia. So hey, we're gonna see. We're also gonna have our big recruiting event that all these young men are announcing is on the 22nd, which is this upcoming Saturday, and it is called Elite Prospect Day. So we're going to have, of course, give them tour of the facilities and all that kind of stuff. But it's like our old Paradise Camp, Mark. So what that means is we're going to see some O-line, D-line one-on-one. We're going to see some wide receiver, defensive back one-on-ones, some 7-on-7. We're gonna see what you got. We're gonna see what you got, and some of the best talent, Mark, in college football will be there. And it's more about the 2023. We have some sprinkled 2022 in there, but we have 10, it's 9 figures, 10, because I had a pen in my hand, 10 5-star prospects from the 2023 recruiting class confirmed to be there this upcoming Saturday. So we will have a chance, Mark, to get a nice jump and to get a nice conversation going with these parents, start to build a relationship with the parents and the prospect. Now, once we start playing football, that's different. But right now, we get a chance to do relationship building. We get a chance to show you who we are, where we're going to be as a program, and then have to go from all the talking to actually presenting it with results come the fall. But right now, we get a chance to talk. We get a chance to be smiles and hugs and throwing up the U together and being happy. In about 6 months, it'll be about playing ball again. But right now, we're doing it. We're doing a relationship building thing and kind of bridging the gaps because this program has had a lot of gaps. This program has failed in some aspects. All of it won't be done in one off season, but you bet your bottom dollar, Coach Cristobal and his staff is going to work to make sure those same holes don't exist under his new regime here at the University of Miami.
Henry Parrish in helping lead Ole Miss to a 10-3 season, Sugar Bowl appearance, 551 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 21 catches out of the backfield. So our guy Tyson is asking, Wholesome One, do you think with Parrish coming into the fold, we see more two-back sets to expose more advantages like, say, a Jalen Knighton, Shard Smith, or Parrish in passing sets with Donald Chaney and Brown or Franklin power run?
I love that. I do, because that's what we need. I've thought about having a split back set also, because two back is split back. He's not saying like I formation, two back and up back and a half or full and a half. I'm talking about having them split in the backfield. Especially with De'Aaron King, I thought it would make sense. I mean, if you go split back, you can give the dive to Cam, and then you can give the pitch to Knight. And I don't want to go down that road. I'm hoping so, but we don't know who is going to be our coach. So we need to wait and see, and we're going to have the wait and see approach because it depends on who the offensive coordinator is going to be. Now, one thing you know, Coach Cristobal is going to have a big emphasis on rebranding this offensive line. Rebranding this offensive line, so therefore we can run the football. Therefore we can pass the football. Therefore we can do play action. We do whatever we need when need be, because the one main thing we already have, quarterback. The second thing we need is an offensive line. You start talking about having the top 15, top 20 offensive line in the country, the receivers Miami's going to always have. So it's based on location, that's where we are. Unless Mark Richt is coaching the team and then you don't recruit receivers because, there's that. But that's behind us now. Running back, we're going to have. Look at the geographical location. What we have a struggle with is quarterback, offensive line, defensive line. Even more have a struggle on is the scarcity of said elite talent at those three positions. And if Miami ain't good enough to bring you in, you're not going there. The University of Florida and Tallahassee would, oh man, when it came to the fronts, Mark, under like Al Golden and parts there under Mark Richt, especially under Randy Shannon, we were not getting the best of the best. We got tier 3 and tier 2 offensive and defensive line. Under Mark Richt, it started to change a little bit. Under Al Golden towards the end, it was a little bit of a switch. You got Tyree St. Louis and Casey McDermott and Trevor Darling. So you had some of those guys, but on a consistent basis, we weren't landing them. Now we have a coach with connections all over the country. So if he goes up and says, all right, you know what? This year, the guards in Florida are not like that. Let's go over to Washington. Let's go up to Illinois. Let's get in the battle with Notre Dame for a guard up in Illinois. Let's go up to Pennsylvania. They got a tackle up there. All we got to do is beat out Penn State and Pitt for them. Ohio State was a late push, but we held on because I know the head coach there from when I was recruiting for Bama, and we brought in big time recruit there. Let's go over to California. Let's go over to Oregon. Let's go over to, because he has connections nationwide to where you don't, of course, you want to start at home, but it isn't just sustainable to always just go from home. Okay. And that's where people get lost in our love for South Florida or Florida football is you need all of them. You need Georgia prospects. Ed Reed and Reggie Wayne are from where, Mark? You know?
Reggie Wayne and Ed Reed?
Yep. Where are they from?
I don't know.
Louisiana.
Louisiana. I didn't know that.
DJ Williams, one of the highest rated recruits from California. Okay. So we've had some elite guys. Dan Morgan from the Pennsylvania. Okay. So we've had some great prospects be from outside, mesh in perfectly with us, stand out. Two of them are going to be Hall of Famers. You know, so Devin Hester, it's what a national program does. It has the ability to stretch its net and pull back in. Shockey, thank you, Ron Fravar. Shockey's from Oklahoma. Greg Olson is from New Jersey. Thank you, Jesus McNeil. You know, it happens. Alan Bailey from Georgia. So we have a coach now to where, of course, we're going to start from home. But Miami may not have everything we're looking for. And even if they do, what stops us from getting the number one defensive tackle for Miami and getting the number one defensive tackle from Louisiana also? Why not? You know, but now we have the mentality amongst the staff. We have the mentality amongst the players about competition, about work. Okay. It ain't like I said, if we keep the turnover chain, fine with me. But don't build your program around the prop. Don't make it the talk of the town where this is it. No. Don't build your program around uniforms. Don't do that. And of course, you want to have a championship program, but don't just make it about championships either. Because plenty of people at the highest success level will let you know that being externally motivated and result-based motivated is not the best thing. Because what happens when you finally achieve those things, you look like Clemson. Because the us against world mentality don't last long. Because eventually you're gonna be the guy, and now you're like, no, we're no longer the podunk Clemson. No, you're the number one team in the country, Clemson. And if you have a whole crowd and a whole team that's used to being the hunter, and now they're the hunted and they don't know how to handle it, it's going to take a whole shift to change the mindset. So the mindset has to be about putting in the work required, being highly prepared. And that's in all facets that you want to run a program. And of course, it sounds like coach speak. That's what I do. But it's true. It's true. If you compare the difference between, and you look at things that are sustainable, is that you don't need your favorite song to come on to go out there and play football at a high level. You don't need a championship belt to prove that you're the best fighter. It's because every time you get in that ring, the other guy, or if you're female, the other girl goes down. So yeah, they give you a prop. Yeah, here's your championship. You won. But it ain't just about that. It's about making sure every time I'm in here, I dominate my opponent. And if my opponent gets me, I shake their hand with respect. And I respect the game. I respect my opponent. We go back to the drawing board and we rebuild it. there it is.
Falcon Rex, always appreciate the contribution. Saban steals things from South Florida.
Ooh. Yeah, I discovered that a while back. The main reason why everybody's all up in arms about Coach Saban and people from South Florida hate Coach Saban, it ain't about the 1993 shellacking that Alabama gave to the University of Miami. It's about the fact that he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins and told them, like, I'm not going to be, I guess I have to say it, I'm not going to be the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then, like, a week later, he was the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yeah, I guess they never got over it. I'm not a Dolphin fan. I'm a Ravens fan, so that doesn't bother me.
I am trying to think where I saw a really good short documentary on that. It must have been on the SEC network here recently, and they went through that whole situation.
Was it with him in a chair, like he was explaining that, and is that
No,
being
I
like
don't
one
think
of his only
the one that
regrets?
I saw, they didn't. It was just a lot of footage and news conference
Okay.
audio from the time, but yeah, they didn't talk to Saban, and I didn't see like
Okay.
start to finish. I didn't sit down to watch it. I was just flipping around, saw that it was on, and caught 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
No, when he played Kirby,
You know what?
Coach
I'm
Smart.
sorry. They did talk to Saban. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. They did have sound bites with Saban talking about it, and him not having a quarterback had a lot to do with him leaving. If they would have had
Absolutely.
Drew Brees,
And who knows what could have happened. Then you got people who are like, Saban sucked the NFL. I don't think people understand how hard that is. Whatever. I don't.
it was 2 seasons.
2 seasons, and the second one he made the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs since. So,
I don't think he made the playoffs.
huh?
I don't think he made the playoffs.
Might have had the best record, 9-7 or something like that.
I think he
Happened
went
where he
8-8,
finally broke.
7-9. I think those are the two records.
Mm.
But I can't evaluate a head coach in the NFL that takes over a pretty bad team, makes them a little bit better. They go 8-8, 7-9, and then he's gone, and he doesn't really have a established or decent or even a young prospect at quarterback to lean on. And I think Saban was fairly upfront about that. They looked at Drew Brees, and if he would have passed his physical, and he was coming off that major issue with his neck and back,
he's a mini miracle.
And the Drew Brees was going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and be okay to play for another whatever it was at the time, 13 years. But interesting.
It happens. It happens. So Mark, before we get out of here, I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot, where recruiting is the lifeblood of a program.
Yes.
Now, of course, the second half of that is developing and scheme and all that kind of stuff. But for the fans who look at college football at face value, they look at it like you land the recruits, you get the best, you stack the best, you win championships. It's just that simple, in their opinion. So for you, in the early phases of Miami trying to build a new program, from what you've heard from Paul, saw that show, from what you heard from Kim Underwood and me, are you hearing some of the signs of what you know can build the program? Or are there other things that you want to see Miami start to land or get done and handled for you to get more of a grasp of what we're doing here? And it's a small sample size, but I just wanted to ask you that.
So for me, there are two reasons why I have more confidence in this Miami situation right now than I would have otherwise. And I've talked about Mark Richt in the past, and again, I think that's a little bit of a different situation. He had proven that he was a top 5 to 10 coach in the country. I think it just wasn't a good circumstance. I think he made a bad decision with his connection with his son, and his loyalties were kind of messed up. I respect the loyalties, but I just think they were a bit misguided. You can go get your son a job. If you're Mark Richt, you can go get your job, you get a son almost anywhere in the country, but he shouldn't be learning on the job. That said,
Right.
I kind of put him in a different category because I make this statement from time to time that post Butch Davis, again, put Richt on the side. We kind of learned a little bit more about him, that he was in a different place in his life, unfortunately. Post Butch Davis, there's not been a coach that Miami's hired, a head coach who had success prior to Miami. And then it proved out post Miami, they didn't go anywhere and succeed. Nobody as a head coach. Mario Cristobal, say what you will, as many people do when we bring up his success. If you look at the time period from 2018 and especially 2019, his second season through 21, there's only about 7 to 10 coaches and programs that did more during that time period than Oregon. He had them in the top 10. He won a Rose Bowl, 3 championship games, 2 wins. Hardly anybody in the country. Again, only about 7 or 8 programs accomplished what they did. So proven track record. So then he lands in Miami. And this is something we talked about before he got the job. And I totally agreed with you in that Lane Kiffin would have been a great hire, et cetera, for a short term. But we are pretty confident this guy, he loves the school. He loves the area. It's his roots. Like, there's just going to be more investment, passion, long-term planning, building, not just, I'm going to grab that 5-star and this 5-star, 4-star, and we're going to put together a really good team and a couple 10-2s, and I might think about the NFL. It's a build. It's a program build, a true, something that's the word that you use a lot, sustainable. And you see the beginnings of that. Okay. For him to go out immediately and flip, and to put that together with his track record. So this isn't something new. This isn't something like, oh, well, wow, this is surprising. It's impressive, but it shouldn't be surprising. He was Alabama's top recruiter. He was bringing in the top recruited class in the Pac-12 3 consecutive years. So all this is production at a much higher rate than, again, save for Rick showing up, getting 9 wins, winning a bowl game, winning 10 straight, getting a number 8 class. But again, he showed after that, just wasn't a good time of life for him. This hasn't been done at Miami since Butch Davis. And I'm looking past Larry Coker because he inherited the team. Sure, he cared for it. He was the caretaker, but we know what the deal was there. So all of that is something I haven't seen for all that time.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I like to ask your opinion from time to time because you've been covering, college football probably as long as I've been alive. But as far as on YouTube for a better part of the last decade, you said you started in what, 08 maybe, 809?
Yeah. I founded the channel in 2010.
Okay.
Really got serious about 13.
Okay, so almost 10 years of serious, but about 12 years of at least sustainable content, consistent content, covering the sport. And when you study something that long, you start to see little things. Like we talked about in a personal conversation on the phone where you were like, when news broke that Urban Meyer came to Ohio State, you're like, oh, we won a championship. We're going to win a championship. That's what he does. Now you look at Miami signing Mario Cristobal. To me, I said within 3 years, we're going to win the ACC. Not win the Coastal. We're going to win the ACC because that's what he does. He wins his conference championship. He did it at FIU. Okay, he's done it at Oregon. He's had his humble already. At FIU, tried to build that program, and everybody brings up his record, doesn't realize he was the second coach in school history at FIU. Like he had to build Florida International. You talk about UCF, USF, where at one point they had a pocket of like dominant performances. FIU never had that. This is not that kind of program. Okay, they beat us under that other guy, but that's neither here nor there. We don't want to talk about that day. Very sad day. But I wanted to ask because there's a lot that goes into this. And if you study it long enough, you start to see little intricacies, little things that stand out to you like, I like that. I've seen that before. I know what that results in. And especially when you talk about building something from the inside out. You talk about a guy who's going to do that. We're going to land 5-star guards and tackles. We're going to land high 4-star centers. That's what we're going to do because that's who he is. And he does it on both sides of the ball. It may be year 2024, we land the number 1 edge rusher in the country. Why? Because he's proven to be able to have done that. And the person who helped him recruit that person is now on staff at Miami, Joe Salaveo. They were the primary and secondary recruiter for Kayvon Thibodeau. Then Kayvon Thibodeau gets on, he said a lot of crazy stuff. But he gets on camera and he talks about how the work, the effort, and the kind of person Coach Cristobal was. And he talked about how when he walked out, the first thing his mom said was, I believe everything he just said. Every little bit of what he just said, I believe. I believe he's going to be successful. I believe he wants you to be successful. And the decision is yours, but I want you to go to Oregon. First time he even told the story. And the first time Coach Cristobal even heard it, but it was real. It was true, and it was genuine. It was from the heart. And these are the kind of things that's been listed as what Coach Cristobal will be. So all we can hope is that it continues to get better for us here in Miami, and that maybe next time we speak, it'll be a little closer to the signing period. After that, it'll be the Thursday night after, in 2 weeks from tonight, will be the time that we get to speak about it. And I can say, did Miami land Shamar Stewart? Did Miami land some of these big-time prospects that we're in the conversation, the offensive guard from Washington? Are there some surprises? Because like we said before, Cyrus Moss wasn't coming to Miami. Coach Cristobal had to convince him about coming to Miami because he wasn't even offered by the previous staff. He knew nothing about the University of Miami. Coach Cristobal got him. Coach Cristobal flipped him. Now he's an early enrollee, came already practicing with the team. So, Jalen Skinner, tight end prospect, top 3 in his position, was going to Alabama. Flipped him. Now he's a Cane. He's also going to be on campus here in a couple of weeks. So we're doing well. We're making strides. And I'm excited about where we're going to move as a program. I can't wait to see it.
The combination of you bringing up National Signing Day and outlining that for us, and then also asking me the question, considering what we've been doing here for the last 10 years, actually gave me a perspective that I hadn't thought of before. And I feel very blessed in this way that, I've been sitting back for 10 years covering all of college football as much as I possibly can, and not had much contact with being at the stadium, coaches, anything like that. Just watching, talking to people like yourself, people that have different angles on it, whether they're former players, coaches, beat writers, whatever they are, and doing all that from a treetop kind of perspective. But I've been very fortunate to be able to marry that with 7 years covering the SEC. And when I was at a sports director at a Mississippi station, we covered Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama. So that was a completely different side of it because I was totally ingrained in it. I was going to practices 3 or 4 times a week. When you bring up National Signing Day, it brings up 2 very distinct memories of, we had good enough relationships with Tommy Tuberville at Ole Miss and Jackie Sherrill at Mississippi State that Tommy Tuberville invited us right into his office during National Signing Day. And we're right there with our camera watching the faxes come in. What's that?
in the war room when the
Yeah, Tommy Tuberville, Ole Miss. Yeah, we were in there
interesting.
and did a live hit with him during the 6 o'clock news. Same thing with Jackie Sherrill, although we were out at a sports bar with him and those guys. And so I've kind of seen both of like kind of sitting back like I do now and trying to watch everything versus you get like if you are able to build the relationships and some credibility, you get ingrained in those programs and get to see them kind of, I'm not going to say, Jackie Sherrill actually asked me one time during the first few days of August camp because they had some player issues off the field. And then they had said some not so good things in the newspaper and to the media, some players. And he actually asked me to come in and talk to the team about how to speak to the media and how to be interviewed and how to respond.
Interesting.
Was, yeah.
And this is at Mississippi State, right? Because Tuckerville is at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So Mississippi State. Yeah. Did you step away when Coach Mullen was there? You were already doing your thing now, and Coach Mullen
I was gone. Yeah, I was gone by then.
Yeah, I asked that because at the place I work, the director and head of film was there at Mississippi State under both coaches. John Riley, he was there, so I don't know if that name means anything to you, but he actually gave me a really crazy, funny story about Manny Diaz when he was a young defensive coordinator there. That made him know that Coach Diaz is a little moody. So, there's that. I'll share the story off air. I don't want to do that to him, especially now that I dropped his name. So
sure.
I don't want to do that on live.
All right, folks. We appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, the Wholesome One makes this happen. Thursday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Just understand that we've got schedules and we need to kind of hustle to get here. So we appreciate your patience. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Head on over to the Wholesome One's channel to check out his work.
Absolutely. Again, Mark, I always make sure I say this every week that I can because it means a lot to me to be able to have covered this. I've been doing this for a little over a year now. I've had my own weekly slot. It used to be Tuesdays. Now we moved to Thursdays, and I'm trying to make sure I'm on time for you because we've got a lot going on now in the off season. So recruiting is never stopping. It never, ever stops. It's always going. So I appreciate it. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the opportunity every week to speak about this program, man. And tell you what, Mark, if I ever get a chance to work there, my first press conference, give you a shout out. Shout out to MarkRogersTV, guys. On my way out of there. So I would appreciate that. Absolutely, man. You guys have a great rest of your night. God bless. And as always,